Hey guys, welcome back. It's Missy, and if you're new here, welcome. I am a life and relationship coach, and on this channel we get to the root of the issue and we learn how to heal and deal. So if that's your thing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I would love for you to be a part of the fam. And if you already are a subscriber, I appreciate you so much. Today, we're going to talk about common mistakes that people make when dealing with a narcissist. So when you first start learning about narcissism, it can logically make sense, like things click, but emotionally it's really hard to still get there. So that's why a lot of us will still make common mistakes because of our beliefs and because of hope. And your emotions are involved and you care for this person, and it makes it that much harder. And of course, because of the trauma bond, and because partially it doesn't really make sense. You can't fathom thinking that way, so you're like, why are they like this? So the first common mistake that people make is they try to be understood. So when a narcissist makes accusations, or they're trying to start a fight, or they misinterpret what you're saying, you immediately will want to be understood because you're being misrepresented. And obviously you're being misunderstood, so you want to be understood. And so you will try to explain yourself. But even when you use logic and you reason with them, I'm sure you can see it goes nowhere. So they will turn things around, they will twist things, they will project, and this is all because they live in this delusional world. So they've created this delusional world where they are this certain person and you are usually the bad guy and you are this certain person. And they fully believe this delusion. So when you're trying to be understood, they're not dumb, they can hear you. They know you're feeling a type of way, but they don't care. They really fully believe that they are the victim and you are doing this certain thing, and they don't care about your viewpoint. They don't want to hear it. So obviously when they're doing this, you're just like, can you please understand me? Like, that's not what's going on. But they don't want to hear it. So trying to be understood is number one. You can do that with a healthy person, but you cannot do that with a narcissist. The next thing is bargaining. So a lot of times when people first hear about narcissism, they're like, okay, you know what? I understand this. Now, if I do this, then maybe they'll do this. I just have to go to counseling and better educate myself, and then they'll understand. Or you'll think they also will want to change. They'll also want to go get help and go to therapy because now you have the problem, so now you can come up with a solution. So they'll try to bargain and think if you do something, then they'll also do something. But the thing is that no matter what you do or what you give, it doesn't matter. They genuinely can't change. They are too selfish and too self-involved to even consider changing. They don't have the ability to self-reflect. So no matter what you do for them, they won't reciprocate and it won't be equal. The next thing is not accepting / in denial. You may have a hard time accepting that this is the reality and this is the way this person is. It's confusing because you're like, how can they make me feel like home and safe and comfortable and so happy and on cloud 9, and they make me feel like I can't live out without them, and then other times I feel like complete dirt. This is what forms the trauma bond, experiencing those high highs and wanting those highs after those extreme lows. So it can be hard to accept that this is a reality because how could this person make you feel so good if they are really that bad? So you confuse that and you think that it's love. So when you don't accept or you're in denial, that causes further enabling. And then that deepens the trauma bond, and then it's much harder to get out of it. And when it comes to the trauma bond, you may not accept that they are this person and you hold on to hope that they can change. Because maybe they'll give you that little bit of hope. You know, they future fake or they say they'll go get help. And so then you don't accept that they are this way. And you think, oh, if they go get help, if they go get therapy, they'll do much better and we can go back to the times when we're happy again. And they may change temporarily, but it's temporary because it's for image purposes. You want to look at someone's actions, not their words. That's why it's important to accept the reality of the situation, because you want to protect yourself and you don't want to expose yourself to further abuse. So you want to listen to that intuition. It will never steer you wrong. The next thing is that you may make excuses for the narcissist. It's much easier to make excuses than to admit what's going on and to deal with it. Maybe you'll think like things like, they had a bad day, or they don't know any better, they had a bad childhood, I provoked them, or we had a good day the other day, we just need to get the spark back. When you make these constant excuses, you're not holding them accountable, and then they can further that abuse. Like I always say, It's horrible when something has happened to someone, but it doesn't mean that you should take on that abuse. What happened to them, like they had a bad day or they had a bad childhood, that's not their fault, but what they do now with it is their responsibility, and they cannot abuse people. That's not an excuse. The next one that kills me when I see people do this, because I'm like, oh, don't do that, is when people show vulnerabilities or the emotions to the narcissist. Now, it's completely normal in a healthy relationship to want to express yourself, to want to share things, to express how something they've said or done has made you feel, and to have healthy disagreements. But in a narcissistic dynamic, it's all about power, control, and manipulation. So when you show your vulnerabilities or you express how something makes you feel, they put it like in their little reminder tank to further manipulate you or to use it against you. That's how they will love bomb you. They get everything, they know everything about you, so they'll use it to their advantage. And not only that, but in your low moments, they'll throw it in your face. They'll use those times when you're vulnerable to further abuse you. So they may use it as a way to like blackmail you. They'll use it as a way to humiliate you. They'll use it as a way to gaslight you. And it is extremely painful and hurtful when someone uses your vulnerabilities as a way to destroy you and your confidence. So if there's any of the one that I would beg anyone to not do, please do not show your emotions or vulnerability to a narcissist, because they abuse you in the worst way possible when you do that. Save those vulnerabilities and feelings for someone that is worth it. The next one is self-blame. If you grow up in an abusive home, you're probably very used to blaming yourself. And so you take that self-blame with you into your other relationships. And so this is something that you're used to. You're used to blaming yourself. And also it's easier. You're more in control when you can blame yourself. It hurts a lot more to hold other people accountable because it makes you feel out of control. And deep down you feel like you deserve that shame. You feel shameful about all of the experience you've had with this narcissist. So the way to deal with it is you blame yourself. So you may believe that you're the reason that there is fighting going on. And this is partially because the narcissist has ingrained that in your brain over and over again. You did this, it's your fault. I wouldn't act like this. I care and love you. It's not my fault that I'm doing this. You're making me do it. So you constantly will blame yourself for the abuse. And when you blame yourself for the abuse, it's hard to hold other people accountable and be able to stand up for yourself. And it's harder to see what is actually going on because you're just blaming yourself. So when you blame yourself, you are gaslighting yourself and you're experiencing, which helps the narcissist keep a tighter hold onto you. And I always say self-reflection and being able to take responsibility, that's great, but there's a time and a place. You have to hold other people accountable. The next one is giving up and withdrawing. So dealing with a narcissist, you become so emotionally drained. And that's partially because before you become educated about them, you are making the wrong moves. You're probably trying to explain yourself. You were probably trying to beg them. You're trying to bargain. You were trying to please them, tiptoe around them. You're just trying to always avoid their rage, and you are always in that survival mode. Or you were just trying to make it work. You're trying to do all these things. You're now emotionally exhausted. So now that will cause you to not stand up for yourself. It will cause you to not set healthy boundaries. Now it's always a power play with them. So you're letting them win when you give up. And this will cause you to become molded and completely lose yourself and become that person just so you don't have to deal with abuse. So now you may say the things that they want to hear. You may stay away from saying or doing certain things, and you'll do exactly what they want. This will further cause you to be more of a victim of the abuse, and you'll become more controlled and more manipulated and lose yourself more. And this is enabling them to continue to disrespect you. The next one is you may mistake them as someone who is healthy-minded and someone you can rationalize with. So you may try to have a healthy conversation, and you soon will realize that healthy conversation will probably turn into a fight. Maybe with conflict resolution, you're trying to bring up some problems, you're trying to come to a resolution, and you're thinking about it from like a rational mindset, but they can't go there. They're very stuck in a childlike state, and they're always going to be emotional and irrational. And also, like I mentioned earlier in the video, we as humans, when we think a certain way, we think everyone thinks that same way, or we think everyone knows this information that we know. So then you'll be very confused, like, why are they behaving like this? Isn't everyone able to have like a back and forth conversation? But no, they're not healthy, they're not rational. They're children stuck at the age they were abused at. So if you ever get an urge to call them out and expose something they're doing, just know it will never be a healthy dialogue. They will invalidate you, they will not agree with you, and they do not care about your resolution. You'd get further with a brick wall. The next one is that you may hold on to future faking and the love bombing. They have sold you this fantasy. Because they've gathered all that information, they know exactly what makes you happy and what makes you angry. They know what makes you happy, they use that to their advantage. So if they know that you're exhausted and you need a break, when they're love bombing you, they'll be like, let's go on a vacation. You know, we always do our best when we're on vacation. And so you hold on to that. And you remember that they said they would change. And so you think, oh, this is now the chance that they're showing me that they're going to change. And so you're projecting this positive person you want them to be, the person that they sold you. And so you'll tell yourself things like, I've seen them at their best. Right now they're just at a low point, but I've seen them at their best. I know there's hope there. Or you'll tell yourself like, I know things will get better. They always do. They show you that glimpse, so you hold on to it. Just understand everything about them is fake. Everything about them is a persona. The real them is the them when they're degrading you and hurting you. That's them at their core. And that's hard to accept because you get stuck in that cycle of abuse. And when things are good, they're good. And when things are bad, they're bad. But you just hold on to those good times. And the last one is you don't follow through on your threats or your consequences. So in a heated moment, when you're upset, you may threaten. I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna divorce. I'm gonna move out. I'm not gonna talk to you anymore. I'm gonna stop doing things for you. You'll make these threats, but then you don't follow through. And when you don't follow through, they then learn to continue to disrespect you. They know you're not a person of your word. And so we teach people how to treat us. So you're teaching them that they can get away with whatever they want, and you'll maybe like have a little freak out, and then you'll just go back to doing what they want again. So now that we talked about the mistakes, now let's talk about what to do instead. The first one is accept and educate. You have to come to the acceptance that the narcissist is not normal and they'll never behave the way that a rational, healthy person would. When you go through trauma or you go through neglect, which I talk about that in my Why a Narcissist Become a Narcissist video, which I'll leave right here. When you go through trauma or neglect, there's actual psychological changes in your brain. So studies show that there's damage to the hippocampus, which is your memory, and there is damage to the cerebral cortex in narcissists, which is where you have self-awareness and empathy. And it showed it was more thin out in people that were diagnosed with the disorder than there was with healthier minded people. And this is what makes us human. It's deformed. So that can give you a better explanation of why they're so abnormal. So that's part of it. And the other part of it is that you have to come to the acceptance that there's nothing you can do, nor is it your responsibility to fix them. All you can do is educate, which there's a ton of education on the internet, YouTube. There's so many great people that talk about it. There's things on my channel. So just educate yourself and it will help you to come to more of an acceptance more and more. You have to come to the acceptance that they'll never understand you and you are projecting a positive view of what you want them to be. The next thing is share the bare minimum with them. If you have to be involved with a narcissist, tell them only what they need to know and mainly keep it about them. You have to understand that when you have a relationship with a narcissist, it will always be extremely shallow. You will never have that deep connection, nor would you want to, because everything you tell them, they'll use it against you. They'll abuse you. They'll mock you. They'll manipulate you. They'll humiliate you. So what you want to do is just gray rock. Don't show much of a reaction. And just understand, if you're involved with someone like that, you have to go get your needs met elsewhere, because you'll never have that deep emotional connection with them. They're a shell of a person. They can't go there. So this relationship is now a relationship where you're mainly just protecting yourself. It's not a deep connection. And that's for both if they're a parent, a friend, a boss, or a partner. The next one is set and enforce boundaries. So if you notice that they disrespect your space, or they try to force you to do things that you don't want to do, or they try to talk to you about things you don't want to talk about, think about those things and think about the boundaries you want to set, and then now enforce them. So maybe you don't want to go to amusement parks with them because they force you to go on rides that you don't want to go on. Or maybe you don't want to talk about certain topics with them because they drain you and it becomes like an interrogation. So set those boundaries, and when you set those boundaries, now enforce them. Make sure that you're consistent. Make sure that you're thorough and you're like, no, I'm not going to talk about this. No, I'm not going to do this. And they're going to throw a tantrum and they're going to guilt you, but you have to make sure that you don't give in. The next one is hold them accountable. So recognize when you're immediately blaming yourself and take a step back and be like, wait, let me see what they did in this situation. Where were they wrong? I may have reacted off of it, but let me see where they were wrong. They yelled at me. They took their anger out on me. They twisted reality. Hold them accountable and make sure you don't immediately blame yourself, because then when you hold them accountable, you can realize the boundaries you do want to set with them. And it can help you to not further give into their abuse and be gaslit and manipulated. The fifth one is to confront and be assertive. So when something happens where they're disrespecting you, not necessarily they're saying something you don't like maybe they think that the sky is yellow and it's actually green, like certain things where you're just like, okay, whatever, you're delusional. But there's certain times when it's really important to stand up, and that's when they're disrespecting you or they're mistreating you. So just understand that the situation is not going to go away. You have to confront it, because when you ignore it, they'll think it's okay. So be assertive, you know, don't show any emotion, but tell them like, I will not tolerate that, or do not talk to me like that, and let them know some sort of consequence if they continue to do that. So let them know that you will not talk to them if they talk to you that way. Let them know you won't give them the money they're asking for if they continue to behaving this way. Let them know there's a consequence for their behavior. So you can't necessarily change their behavior, but you can change the way that you respond to them. Which that goes into the next thing, is stick to the consequences you set. So kind of like enforcing your boundaries. When you say something, you have to mean it. So you have to follow through with it. So like, let's say like you do owe them money and they're being really disrespectful and they're harassing you. You let them know like, I'm not going to give you this money if you keep behaving like this. And then do not give them the money. Or let's say they want to have a conversation with you, but they are tormenting your life. Let them know that a conversation will not happen until they stop behaving the way they're behaving. Same way you would do with a child, pretty much. And then the last one is know when to walk away. So no one can tell you what to do. No one can tell you like, oh, you have to leave a narcissist, or oh, you should try to make it work. No one can tell you what to do. You're the one who decides that. But knowing all this information, you do have to determine when it is important to walk away. So if they're physically putting their hands on you, you have to know to walk away. Or if you're like, your mental health is being sacrificed, walk away. Reach out, go to therapy, go get help. You need to do what's best for you, because this whole time you were involved with a narcissist, you never took care of yourself. So you need to know when to throw in the towel. What is your limit? You need to realize that. So what do you guys think? Leave it all in the comments below, and please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with someone that you think may need it. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye guys. Oh, a deer. Oh dear. I'm such a corny dad. What am I saying? You're like, why are they like this?